In this next quiz from Carl Shoup's book, Test Your Bible Knowledge, we will wrap up the book of Judges and start the book of Ruth. The book of Ruth is set during the first part of the book of Judges, and it's one of the great Bible stories. Well, just like the last quiz, there are 10 multiple choice questions, each with 4 answers. I need to pick the best answer and hopefully get them all correct. This quiz book has been around since the early 1970s, and some of the questions are a little tricky. The questions are based on the King James Version of the Bible, and that's the version of the Bible that I read. All right, let's start with the next question. Question number 281. The tragic story of a certain Levite and his concubine had its beginning in the fact that he A. never traveled in the heat of the day, B. accepted overnight accommodations in a strange city, C. started too early, or D. accepted his father-in-law's invitation to stay overnight. And I'm going to go with D. Accepted his father-in-law's invitation to stay overnight. So D for 281. 282. When certain ungodly men of Gibeah demanded that the hospitable old man let them get at his guest, the Levite, he, A. tried to buy them off with his virgin daughter and the Levite's concubine, B. fired the house rather than yield, C. sent to all the people of Israel from Dan to Beersheba for aid, or D. meekly gave in to their demand. Okay, I remember this story, and the correct answer here, I believe, is A. He tried to buy them off with his virgin daughter and the Levite's concubine. And so my answer for 282 is A. 283. The 700 left-handed Benjamites who could sling stones at an hairbreadth and not miss, A. were decisive in the first day's battle of the Benjamites with the rest of the Israelites, B. were decisive in the second day's slaughter of 18,000 Israelites, C. were deprived of their skill by the shock of the third day's combat, or D. disappear from the story. Okay, I'm going to eliminate D, disappear from the story. This was another pretty good story that is related to the story that's referred to in 282, and they didn't just disappear from the story. And I remember that I think that the Benjamites were victorious a couple of times. I think that they slaughtered the Israelites a couple of times. I think that it may have been 3 times. So C is looking like the best answer. C, they were deprived of their skill by the shock of the third day's combat. So I'm going to go with C. Although A, they were decisive in the first day's battle of the Benjamites with the rest of the Israelites, is true. They were victorious the first day, and they were victorious the second day, but I'm a little apprehensive about that number, 18,000 Israelites. I know that the author likes to put these numbers in here to trip me up, so I think I'm going to stick with C, were deprived of their skill. Well, on second thought, I think I'm going to go with A, were decisive in the first day's battle, because that's the one that's the most true. So I'm going to go for A on 283. 284. The tribe of Benjamin was saved from extinction by A, 400 young virgins of Jabesh Gilead and 200 dancers of Shiloh, B, 200 young virgins of Jabesh Gilead and 400 dancers of Shiloh, C, the Israelites' abjuration of their oath never to let their daughters marry Benjamites, or D, their defense of their own women in the cities. And I'm going to eliminate D, because I remember there was a great slaughter, and I believe the women, I think that was the problem, that they were killed. So I'm going to eliminate D. And C, I don't think that the Israelites ever backed down from this oath. So it's between A and B. And here again, the author threw in some numbers. So I have to pick, was it 400 or 200? Which makes the best sense here? I am going to go with A. 400 young virgins and 200 dancers. So for 284, the answer that I'm going to pick is letter A. 285, and this is the first question from the book of Ruth. It reads, Ruth was the indirect beneficiary of A, a famine, B, an earthquake, C, a hailstorm, or D, a flood. And I'm going to go right for A, a famine. 286, after Naomi's family moved from Bethlehem, Judah, to Moab, she lost by death her A, husband, B, husband and one son, C, husband and two sons, or D, husbands, two sons, and one daughter-in-law. And the answer here, pretty simple, I hope it's right, is D. Husband, two sons, and one daughter-in-law. 287. Retracing her steps to the land of Judah 10 years later, Naomi urged her daughter-in-law to stay in Moab in order to A, be sure of enough food, B, obtain husbands, C, avoid rape on the way, or D, free herself of quarrelsome daughter-in-laws. And we can eliminate C and D. Those aren't correct. And A, be sure of enough food. I don't think that that's correct either. I think the best answer here is B, obtain husbands, for 287. Okay, 288. Naomi and Ruth reached Bethlehem, A, at the beginning of the barley harvest, B, in the middle of the barley harvest, C, just as the barley harvest was ending, or D, in the dead of winter. And the correct answer here is A, at the beginning of the barley harvest, for 288. Correct answer is A. 289. Ruth's plan for finding a husband was to A, stand at the city gate in the presence of the elders, B, help on the threshing floor, C, glean in the field after the reapers, D, lament. And I remember that she gleaned in the field after the reapers, so 289, I'm going to choose letter C for my answer. Okay, and the last one, 290. Boaz spoke kindly to Ruth because A, the servant in charge of the reapers remarked that she had worked without resting, B, he had heard of all that she had done for her mother-in-law, C, he was naturally courteous to young women, or D, the harvest was good. And I think that the answer is B, he had heard of all that she had done for her mother-in-law. So I'm going to go with that. 290B. Okay, that makes 10, and this time these questions seem to be pretty straightforward, so I may have gotten a pretty good score. So I'll go to the back where the answers are waiting for me, and I'll see which ones I answered correctly this time. And I'll start with 281, and the correct answer is B, and this one was the beginning of the tragedy that involved the Levite. I answered D. So right off the bat, I got the first one wrong, and it was the question about the story of the Levite and how it began. And I pretty confidently thought it was D, that he accepted his father-in-law's invitation to stay overnight. But the correct answer is B, accepted overnight accommodations in a strange city. Okay, that makes sense. I think that he rejected his father-in-law's invitation to stay. His father-in-law, I think, asked him a few times, and he was ready to leave, and then he left, and that's where he ended up in the strange city. So, correct answer B, I answered D. So we're going to move right on to 282. And this one was the one about the men in the city were trying to persuade the older man that was providing a room to the Levite to send the Levite out, and I selected A, which was the correct answer. The older man tried to offer them his virgin daughter and the concubine. All right, question number 283. The correct answer is D, and I answered A. So I'm going to go back and look at the question here, and it's the one, it said the 700 left-handed Benjamites who could sling stones at an hairbreadth and not miss. And I was pretty confident that it was A, that they were decisive, but actually the answer is D. They disappear from the story. So I got that one completely wrong. All right, 284. The correct answer is A, and that's what I put down, A. And this one was the one about the Benjamites being saved from extinction. And the author gave me 400 virgins or 200 dancers or 200 dancers and 400 virgins. And I just happened to pick A, and look at that, I got it right. 285, correct answer is A. And this one was our first question from the book of Ruth. And the event from which she benefited was in fact a famine. And that was answer A. 286, correct answer is C, and I put down D. So let me go back and look at 286, and it reads, after Naomi's family moved from Bethlehem, Judah, to Moab, she lost by death her, correct answer is C, husband and 2 sons, and I thought it was husband, 2 sons, and 1 daughter-in-law, and that is correct. The daughter-in-law didn't die. The daughter-in-law just elected to stay. So that's why I answered that one incorrectly. 287, the correct answer is B, and I put down B, which is good news. This one was the question about Naomi urging her daughter-in-law to stay in Moab, and it was to obtain husbands, which was answer B. So good. 288, the correct answer is A, and I answered A, another one that I got right. Good news. And the question was about Naomi and Ruth, and they reached Bethlehem at the beginning of the barley season, the beginning of the barley harvest. 289, the correct answer is C, and I answered C, and it was the question about Ruth's plan to obtain a husband, and that was to glean in the fields. And 290, correct answer is B, and I put down B also. And this one was the question about why Boaz spoke kindly to Ruth, and that was because he heard about what she did for Naomi. Okay, I answered 7 out of the 10 correctly this time. Not too bad. I really thought that I would have answered a lot more correctly this time, but like I said, there's always the next quiz. It will wrap up the book of Ruth, and then it goes right into the book of 1 Samuel, which is another good book with some really great stories.